MoistCr1tikal D&D backpedals on the license change. I mean, it wasn't even confirmed if that is actually what they were doing, but let's see what this
We can talk
says.
about the D&D stuff now. So we already went over the situation, but I'll break it down real quick. Wizards of the Coast / Hasbro, they made an inexplicably awful decision to change their open game license, making it very restrictive to have your
Yeah,
own campaigns and do your own stuff with the D&D world. This targets things like Critical Role, stuff like that, where you have
which is weird because that was like their biggest like appeal and how they got so big. Because if it's like based on their own stuff, like none of that really blew up.
these campaigns that go on for a long time, and it becomes a huge piece of content all over the internet.
Yeah,
They want royalties on that kind of content. They released a really misguided new set of rules that you have to follow. It's all terrible. I
from what I understand, they didn't officially release it. It was leaked,
won't get into
so it wasn't even like
the
confirmed.
nitty gritty. But in a nutshell, it was basically a community killer. Without exaggeration, their new
It was like Nintendo level of trying to destroy the grassroots community.
game licensing, their new OGL, was actually a community ruining decision that would absolutely just tank all of it, for sure.
Yeah,
That's just the reality of it. There was huge pushback on Twitter. A lot of people realized through like an anonymous email from a employee at Wizards of the Coast that they care deeply about D&D Beyond subscriptions. That's their main metric they use. So it became a big trend on Twitter and Reddit to cancel your D&D Beyond subscription, to really hit Wizards where it hurts the most. After, I think it was 2 days, only 2 days of tons and tons of people canceling their subs,
oh wow,
Wizards
I
finally
didn't know
made a
about that.
statement talking about the OGL and the changes, and it is such a passive aggressive statement. Does this article have
Are
it?
they
Because I'd like to show you
farming
the actual
elves
statement
over
in
at
its entirety
freaking?
real quick.
Like, who the heck is in charge there? They need to get rid of them.
Thanks to Resub Flash. And the Resub Machine, him, Ryu, and the Prime Ollie. And the Pizza in London. Where this is the leaked draft. So this is like the new OGL stuff. I'm looking for the official statement.
I thought that's what he had up this whole time. Let me see if I can skip to where he actually has it.
Basically, the tone they take is, so here's their new
Okay.
statement. So I won't read all of it to you, even though it's not that long. I still feel like it'd be just easier to summarize it. Basically, the tone they take is they walk everything back, and they're like, well, the actual reason behind this was Gigabrain. It's some real supervillain anime shit where we were 5 steps ahead. We wanted all of this to leak so we could get your feedback. We wanted to hear from
Are
you
you
guys because we
serious?
take all of your feedback so seriously. We wanted your feedback on potential OGL changes. And in fact, the main reason we were doing it is because we wanted to address those attempting to use D&D and Web3 blockchain games and NFTs by making clear that the OGL is limited to tabletop role-playing content like campaigns, modules, and supplements. So they tried to play like the hero, protect you from hateful and discriminatory products, and ensure
That's
that the
dumb.
OGL is for the
I
content
don't know many
creator
people who
and
would
homebrewer,
actually believe
the
that.
players, and the community. Which makes no fucking sense because the only reason anyone was able to give feedback is because it leaked. It leaked. They didn't
Yep.
officially post it and ask for feedback. The goddamn thing leaked. Also, this doesn't even talk about the royalties. How do royalties protect from Web3 hateful discriminatory products and this kind of shit? That
It
doesn't
doesn't.
even address like the main thing about taking royalties, as well as also having the clause in there where not only do you take royalties, you can take their entire property and sell it for yourself as your own thing without even needing their permission. I didn't talk about that in my video, by the way. That's one that I probably should have, but I focused more on the monetary side. One other thing in the proposed new OGL was they have full rights to whatever you'd make, so they could take that
Yep.
and they could sell it as their own.
And build upon it as well.
They could monetize it as their own, and they wouldn't even need your permission.
Yep.
It was so dumb. It was so fucking dumb. Thanks to the resub.
I think across the board, everyone like agreed like it was just
Prime Casey.
a terrible move.
But here, let me get back to the new statement.
Because even if like that was the case where you want to make more money, it's like, why would you go at it like this? It's like you're not dipping your foot in the waters of monetizing the stuff. You literally like went head first into the deep end.
Where does it go? Yeah, they walked back the royalty, but I want to find, where is it? They're only half right. We both won. Oh, here we go. Second, you're going to hear people say that they won and we lost because making your voices heard forced us to change our plans. Those people will only be half right. They won and so did we. Whoever wrote this needs to be fired. I don't know what team you're using for your press statements, but they are off.
Yeah, this part didn't not need to be in there whatsoever. Because it just looks bad.
What this shows, plain and clear, is what people were worried about from the get-go, especially...
Yeah, because it's like, obviously, you were going to do it. And you were going to go, like, as hard as you could. And just by admitting, like, yes, they won on this part of it, but not this other part.
From the leaks and the employee emails, you treat your fans as competition, as different teams. There's the Wizards of the Coast team, and there's the community, and you guys are at war. So it's about who wins and who loses. Your stance should have been, we're all playing for the same team, so nobody won and nobody lost. We're all in this together. But instead, you went for like, no, you didn't win. You kind of won, but at the end of the day, we win. It's so stupid. It's so fucking stupid.
Unfortunately, yeah, looks like Wizards is becoming like the Nintendo, the next Nintendo.
No,
when it comes
they
to
won
like,
and so did we.
Trying to do damage to their own community.
It's literally saying the opposite. It's saying you won, but so did we. There's a separation. There's two teams. Talking about winning and losing on different sides. I don't know why that's hard to see.
Yeah.
The internal memos were talking about how Wizards of the Coast treats the community as obstacles for money. So they look at them in a different way. As like actual competition. So those successful campaigns that are third-party homebrew, they view as actual competition in D&D. Which is obviously not healthy since the entire D&D brand is built on the community. So them coming out and saying some shit like this kind of confirms that fear that they literally view those people, those campaigns, that community as competition instead of like customer. Well, customer is the wrong word. Instead of just part of the same ecosystem.
Yeah, just one big community.
It's just a complete lack of respect.
Yeah, it's not looking good. Especially since they took it as a loss. Like, that tells me, like, okay, so you really did want it to go there. And just because you lost this time doesn't mean you're just going to give up.
It's just, all of it just seems to come out against the community while trying to pretend that it wasn't.
Yeah, and the whole, like, we leaked it on purpose doesn't make sense at all.
Like this shit right here, our plan was always to solicit the input of our community before any update to the OGL. And the drafts you've seen were attempting to do just that. Except that's a blatant lie. You already contacted Kickstarter about your 20% royalty thing. The only reason you got any input from the community is because all of that leaked. So you had already taken the steps to ensure the OGL could go through without a hitch, without ever getting any input from the community. It's a fucking lie.
Exactly.
The arrogance of this company is astounding. Yeah, it is. It is kind of wild. I don't think saves them by any means. Especially when Pathfinder put out such a strong statement that got so much support. So, I don't think they're getting any new D&D Beyond subscriptions. I don't think anyone's going to re-sign up. I really do think this will be pretty much the start of a slow decline of D&D and its brand.
Yeah, I think this was like D&D was also like already kind of not exactly falling off because it did explode, but it was tapering down, I think. And this kind of stuff is only going to make it worse because a lot of what kept D&D like alive is the people outside of the wizard of the coast, like the creators. So it's like if they all turn their back on D&D and go to like another system, like everyone leaves. Like D&D is not gonna last that much longer, unfortunately. Like obviously people are always gonna use the term D&D, but like the wizards part of it is probably not gonna be a thing. Especially since they can't make like any good decisions there.
It'll transition much more into like Pathfinder and those kinds of other ones. I just don't see anyone going back because it's such a community-driven thing in the first place. You lost the trust of the whole community.
Exactly.
I don't know how you make that back.
Yep. Kind of sucks, but
Brimstar?
I mean, who knows? Maybe with this much backlash, whoever at Hasbro can make the decision would realize, okay, whoever we have there leading the charge with Wizards, like we need to replace them ASAP because they're just ruining the brand at this point.
Another great thing about this, and I don't know how many people realize this, all of this broke at the absolute best time for Wizards of the Coast and Dungeons and Dragons because they have that stupid Chris Pine movie coming out soon called Dungeons and Dragons.
I did not know that.
So, I think this comes out next month. Maybe even less. So all the people that were going to see this probably aren't going to see that anymore.
It's hard to say. I think they will. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think this would have changed that much with that, but that's just, I don't know. I just feel like that's not going to change much.
The Last of Us HBO looks incredible. Oh, I thought it was out. Yeah, all the reviews are good for it. Is the Reese of Dark Wolf. No one cares about D&D drama. I don't think you could be more wrong. This has been huge news.
Yeah, because the D&D thing is like, it's mostly about the community. So, I mean, among other brands, like D&D is going to be like where drama is going to affect it the most. I just think like the movie is still like people are going to at least get willing to give it a shot.
D&D is probably one of the most recognizable names in anything gaming related. That's a name that's had fucking 50 years worth of like media hysteria, satanic panic, and still surviving and absolutely blowing up. Literally the biggest stream on Twitch is D&D. It's Critical Role.
Yeah.
They are legitimately the biggest Twitch stream in terms of the revenue they bring in. They have their own Amazon Prime show. I don't know where you're... I don't even know what you're talking about. That's straight up delusion.
Yep. It's basically someone who personally doesn't care about D&D and not willing to accept that it is such a big thing.
You don't have to like the game. I'm not saying just because it's super popular it has to be the best game ever, but it is indefensible that it is a huge property still.
Yeah, but I think with Critical Role, like it's not exactly like the D&D part that makes it good. They make it good with like bringing characters to life, like having fun with the adventure. Like it's not like D&D has copyright on adventure games, like tabletop adventure. So
arguable that it's a huge property still.
From what I understand, it's mainly the player handbook, I think, like the rules of it. But as they mentioned, like Pathfinder, like there's other like branching or other rules out there you can use.
There's about every game imaginable is having a scandal. What other games to this level? I think it's Recep Uzi. And it's not even the game, it's the company.
Did you see a group of fans bringing the Dragon's Dogma to the West? I didn't see that.
Doing the best it can to sink itself.
I've always wanted to try it.
Which ultimately will probably end up being a good thing for the game as a whole, going to things like Pathfinder.
Yeah. I do think that. Like, because they haven't really done much new stuff with D&D, so it's like But Pathfinder, like, they're constantly working on it.
They're also destroying Magic the Gathering. Yeah, but that's Wizards and like Wizards of the Coast, Dungeons and Dragons, Magic all goes in the same bucket. Hasbro, it's all the same bucket.
Yeah. I mean, it could have come from Hasbro, just telling them like, "Hey, we need you guys to make more money," which does make sense. I mean, D&D is huge, like he said. There's no reason why you can't make more money off of it. I just think they went about it in like quite literally the worst possible way by trying to
Every
cannibalize
bad
its
decision they make
community.
with D&D, they make for Magic the Gathering as well.
Yeah.